What's going on, everybody? David here from Bluckers Videos and Toys, and today we are going to be checking out the Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire Real Feel Kong from the MonsterVerse line by Playmates Toys. Now, it did take me a while to find these when they first initially was released earlier this year, but I was very happy to find both Kong and Godzilla, which we will review in a separate video. But very happy to finally add this to the collection. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging first. So, this is a very nice packaging. I do like how they incorporate different kaijus for their MonsterVerse packaging. So, if you see the Monarch logo right there with the MonsterVerse logo in front of it. And then you got different kaijus on the side of it. So you got Rodan, and you got King Ghidorah, with Godzilla, Kong, and then Mothra. So, and then here in the background, you got that Arctic-like background right there with the light blue and white coloration to it. And then here at the bottom, you got the pinkish, and you got the whatchamacallit, the mountains back there and below. So basically on the background you got the Arctic background, and then you got the pinkish ruins here at the bottom. And so and then you got the little cautionary lines right there here on top, and then here in the front of the packaging, excuse me. And then you got Real Feel with the exclamation mark, and then you got Kong, and then you got Kong right there, and then you got Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, and then Playmates Toys with the Toho legendary symbols at the bottom, and then you got ages 4 and up, that's me. And then here on the inside of the packaging, I don't know if you can, yeah, it's a little too dark, but you know, the coloration here at the bottom just kind of goes all the way around on the inside and at the bottom. And then here is the bottom of the packaging, and so pretty much all the logos and copyright information. And then on the side of the packaging you got Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire with the Monarch logo, and then here you got a picture of Kong right there, and then the word Kong right there at the bottom. And then here in the back you have the Monarch and MonsterVerse logos right there, and then you got more of that cautionary right there. And then here it says Godzilla X Kong, the Empire Kong, and then if you want to pause and read that, you may. And then you got Real Feel exclamation mark, and then you got a picture of Kong right there with the background. And then here it says collect them all, and then here is the pictures of all of them. So we've pretty much, with the exception of Real Feel Godzilla Evolved, we've actually reviewed all of these. So if you would like to go back and check out the playlist of my Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire playlist, it has all the reviews of all these figures. And then, with the exception of Mechagodzilla, so that's like a re-release. But if you want to check out my review of Mechagodzilla, it's on the Godzilla vs. Kong playlist as well. And then here on the sides you have some more Playmates Toys, Toho legendary logos. And then if you want to check out their websites, you can go ahead and check it out. Then of course you've got some more of that cautionary design right there. Caution, you know. That's what I think it is. It may not be it, but that's what it looks like to me. So, all right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the figure. All right, so we have the figure in hand, and to be honest, while I do like the flock concept of it, the design of the figure is not done well. This is more of like a 5 POA figure more than anything, which is understandable because of the flocked aspects of it. But as far as the design and stuff, it's not all that great compared to all the other figures that we've gotten. But hey, at least they're trying something different, and I like different, so that's why it's in the collection. But other than that, it looks great, you know. Even though the design looks a little poorly executed, as you can see, the head isn't all that great. So it looks a little thin, but we'll do a comparison. It may be the same size, but he looks a little smaller as far as body wise goes. But here is the head sculpt. I do like how they have the snarling face. So it looks like just like a man in a bodysuit. That's what it really looks like. But yeah, I'm very happy to have this in the collection, though. Even though it did take some time to track these down at the time, because the first set that I came across, it was pretty bad. And what I mean is that it had like all kinds of junk on it, like fuzz and hair, and just anything that can attract to flock. It was on that thing, so I just put it back in hopes I could find a new one. But then again, you know, a few days later, I did find another set, so I'm really happy about that. But other than that, it looks really good, you know, as far as the execution of the flock goes. So yeah, I'm talking about that little fuzz right there. But at least it's not as bad as the one that I originally found. And then you got the hairy butt cheeks right there. And then the feet. So you could tell they just didn't add the articulation, you know. It's pretty much used the design and then the molding, and then they just covered it in a flock. So, but other than that, it does look pretty good. You know, it's an ugly figure as far as the way the design goes, the head sculpt and stuff. But other than that, everything else is pretty okay. You know, they could have just did a better job at the head. But like I said, it just looks like a man in a monkey suit, cosplaying. But yeah, the eyes are good though. You know, the nostrils, teeth. You know, the ears. I got the ears and stuff. But you could tell that, you know, it's part of the beast glove. So. And it's a shame that they didn't leave that part plastic, but I understand why they didn't. You know, could have at least colored in a little bit of the wrapping of the glove. And then that, not too bad. So, and then the chest, you know, to get the damage of the chest and stuff. But other than that, not too bad. So, like I said, this is pretty much a 5 POA figure. So the head just only goes side to side, and then there's no articulating in the joint or nothing. So it's just basically all the way around. Oh, I hope that doesn't become a problem. So. Kind of shaved off some of the flock, but maybe it was just because it needs to be ironed out. Okay, I don't think he'll do that very much anymore. Guess it just needed to get rid of that extra flock that was stuffed in there, so I don't see any more coming out. All right, that was kind of scary for a moment. I was like, oh no. It's falling apart. But yeah, and then the legs, you know, they go all the way around too. So no hinge at the elbows or the knees. So just pretty much straightforward. So pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and do some comparisons. Alright, first comparison, we have him next to the Playmates version of Kong Skull Island, or Kong from Skull Island. So you can tell that the flocked one is just a little bit taller in the shoulders, you know. So pretty much the same size, but just a little bit taller in the shoulders. You know, you can tell that it's just maybe just a half a head taller. Probably not even that, but you can tell he's just slightly taller. And here is Kong next to the spider that was in the tree on Skull Island, or the tree spider. I forgot what they were called. But yeah, so there he is next to that. And there he is next to a couple of skull crawlers. The one on right here, that's from Lymbery Toys. And then, of course, the one that's here is from Playmates Toys. So, pretty good size comparison. And then for the final comparisons, here he is next to a knockoff Kong figure. He's a little bit taller than him. And then next to the Playmates Beast Glove Kong, you know, which he's just a tad bit shorter than the flock version. Overall, I really do like this figure, even though it's got that goofy look in the face and stuff. And like I mentioned, it does look like a man in a monkey suit. But overall, as far as the execution goes, it was pretty well done. You know, not too bad. You know, not the best figure, you know, as far as looks goes and stuff. But I can see what they're shooting for and everything. But it's a worthy addition to the collection. I'm very happy with it. You know, even though it has its little flaws and stuff. But overall, I mean, it's a good figure. You know, I recommend it if you can find it. You know, because these were pretty hard to find. They weren't very common like most of the other lines was. But overall, you know, like I said, I do recommend this figure. So let me know in the comments below what you think of this figure, and let me know would you add it to your collection? Would you get it if you was able to find it? Let me know. And don't forget, words of wisdom: buy what you love and know what you like, because if you buy what you like, you always end up getting rid of it. And I will catch y'all later.